What's up, guys? Sci-Fi Guy 2094 here today with another video. I am talking about Vikings Season 2. I am hooked on this show. I just binge watched Season 2, so I'm going to talk about it and just give you the highlights and my thoughts on it. So, I think this season was really good overall. There's a lot going on. They really step up. I wouldn't say the action so much. I'd say the action is kind of at the same level. There may be a little bit less action, but there's a little bit more thrilling moments because of the alliances that they formed. Okay, so gonna hit the highlights real quick and just talk about this. So at the end of season 1, we saw that Rollo basically aligned himself with Jarlberg, I think is his name, who was the he was the Earl of like a different land, right? And the whole thing was Rollo was like tired of living in Ragnar's shadow, right? So he joined Jarlberg, but eventually, the brothers had to meet on the battlefield, right? So Jarlberg and Ragnar's forces basically battled, and Ragnar's forces came out victorious. And Ragnar, he loves his brother, so he couldn't kill his brother. Basically, they went back to Kattegat, right? And he should have been put to death, really, for his betrayal, but Ragnar basically spared him. And he's basically like, well, you can't go on any more raids with us, right? Like, I don't trust you. You know what I mean? It's like his brother joined Jarlberg's forces, right? So it's like, now everybody hates Rollo, and he's just like this drunk guy, and nobody respects him anymore. And he lost his brother's trust, right? So that is kind of like the main plot point, which kind of sets up this the story for the next couple episodes. And so Ragnar's like, okay, yeah, you're staying here. You're not going raiding with us. I think they're going to Wessex again, which is in England. And so what happens is Ragnar and King Horik, they go to raid in England, I believe the kingdom of Wessex, right? But what happens is Jarlberg returns to Kattegat, and he basically attacks Kattegat while Ragnar's away. And what happens is everybody is like in panic. It's chaos. A bunch of people from Kattegat get killed, and unfortunately, Lagertha has to flee into like the mountain pass, right? And she basically makes it to this other village and becomes the wife of this earl who's like a complete asshole and just like abuses her and stuff like that. But when Ragnar hears about the news, he has to split the forces, right? So he's allied with King Horik. And so once he finds out the news about Kattegat, him and his troops leave Wessex, and he has to return home, while Horik is still with his forces in England, right? So it's a pretty cool action adventure part, because once Ragnar returns, he has to, he doesn't have enough men really to stage an assault on Jarlberg and his home of Kattegat. So basically he has to draw them out somehow, right? So they kind of sneak in and they burn their grain storage, right? So basically that's their whole food source. They do that to draw him out. And basically once he's out, they're able to battle him. And who comes to his aid is none other than Lagertha, his wife. But I believe she was going by like a different name or something like that. But basically they I think that's what happened. I think she is Earl at this time. I think that's what happened, is she assumed another name and said she'd form an alliance, but she didn't give her real name because she wasn't really, I guess she don't want word to get out that it was really her, right? So basically, they're able to defeat Jarlberg, and his punishment, man, his punishment comes later, like a few episodes later, but it is tense, man, because what happens is Jarlberg, he tries to convince King Horik to actually free him, and basically he's like, if I was, he has this skull, right, which is his dead wife, and he consults this skull, and he's kind of telling King Horik like, well, if I was wise, this is what I would do. And King Horik's like, okay, yeah, I'll take your advice. So he basically frees Jarlberg, but he deceived him. He's not freeing him. And what happens is basically the whole village of Kattegat is there, and they see basically the way that they, I forget what they call it, like eagle spread or something, like something to do with an eagle, right? But it's like super, super brutal. And what happens is they start with knives, right? And they start cutting his back open, right? And then they take axes and they start like slicing and dicing, right? And then until his ribs are like exposed. And then like they take the back of his ribs out and then they like drape it over his back. And his arms are like outstretched. His arms are outstretched like this. So, he's kind of resembling like the wings of an eagle, right? But that was his punishment. He basically gets filleted, and that's his punishment for killing the people of Kattegat. So that was, man, that scene was really, really like a powerful scene. Like the music, everything with, again, super gory, lots of blood, but man, oh man, that was a good scene. So the third major plot point is King Horik is colluding with Floki, and he doesn't believe that Ragnar should be Earl anymore, right? And he wants to get him out of the way so his kingdom can have all the power, because he sees Ragnar as like a loose cannon, and he's not a big fan of his wife, his former wife, Lagertha, because Ragnar has taken a new wife now, and there's like a time skip, like 4 years. There's like a 4-year time skip, right? And I think Bjorn, or whatever the kid's name is, Ragnar's son, I think they aged him up a little bit too much, because it was only supposed to be like 4 years, but he looks like he's 21. And I think when we last saw him, he was like 11 or 12. So I feel like he should have been like maybe 16 or 17. But it's like they aged him to where like he looks like he's 21. So that threw me for a loop right there. I was like, whoa. There's no way that's Bjorn, or whatever the kid's name is. But anyway, so Horik is now colluding with Floki, and he wants to take out Lagertha, Ragnar's new wife, and Ragnar as well. So, and I thought Floki, I was like, okay, so Floki wants the trust of King Horik, right? So whenever he started picking the mushrooms, I'm like, oh no, like I knew they were poison mushrooms. And so basically, Floki feeds these mushrooms to Björk's best friend, as well as Rollo, which is Ragnar's brother. So it appears that they both die, but not quite, because maybe it gave him like a little mild, maybe it was like a sedative type of thing. And I don't know how he did it. I mean, again, he's Floki. He's the trickster. He's kind of like Loki. He knows a lot of the lore about Loki and things like that. Like, Floki is very cunning, right? And so it appeared that he had killed them because Horik wanted his trust. And he's like, basically, you have to kill somebody because I don't quite trust you. So Floki kills a couple people, right? And Horik is like, okay, yeah, I can trust you now. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna wipe out Ragna's entire bloodline. But of course, Floki is loyal to Ragna, which was like, I was like, no way. I was like, I like Floki. He's kind of weird and quirky, but I was like, I thought he was loyal to Ragna, but then he starts killing people. But then it was not it was not what it appeared. He was loyal to Ragna, which I was relieved. I'm like, oh wow, that's a lot. Whew. That man, that was a lot. I was like, man, no, Floki, like, don't do this. But he remained loyal to Ragna, and basically, King Horik was then killed by um, by Ragna himself, by his own hands. And King Horik was like, please find it in your heart to spare my son. And I don't know what happened. They kind of took the son away, so I don't know if they're going to spare him or not. But I mean, it's always when these people get caught, like doing these treacherous things and colluding with people to kill and murder and just pillage and betray, whatever the case may be, they're always the ones that are like, oh, please forgive me, please find it in your heart. And it's like, man, you guys are gonna ask and beg for forgiveness when you are just gonna literally wipe out his entire family. Wow. So anyway, King Horik gets killed, and that's pretty much the end. That's where season 2 ends. So again, those are just like the highlights, the main plot points of the season. I thought it was really good, really fascinating. Um, there's also it's kind of like a major plot point where King, I believe his name is King Egbert in Wessex. There's this princess there, right? And allegedly she killed her brother because they're vying for power over in their kingdom. So she comes over to Wessex, and then they're like, okay, let's, they talk to Ragna's people, right? And they're like, okay, well, what we can do is, we'll offer these Northmen some farming land, and then the rest of them who want to be mercenaries, we'll take them as mercenaries and they can fight for us as well. So that's the other thing. And you have another subplot point with, I wouldn't even really call it a plot point, but you have, I always forget the monk's name, but the monk from the first season who they raided the, the cathedral, not the cathedral, but the little, whatever the monks use to like pray, their little temple. That monk guy from season 1 who became a slave, now in this season he's kind of questioning, like, okay, like, yeah, I was a Christian, but then I denounced it, but I was really a friend of Ragna. He's like, are their pagan ways really that bad? Some of their beliefs are like sensible, others aren't. So he's kind of wrestling back and forth with like his previous life as a monk, and then living amongst the Northmen so much with Ragna, and then going back to England and living among the English people. And then once again at the end of season 2, he actually returns to Kattegat, so he goes back to live with the Northmen. So yeah, he was kind of torn in season 2, like where his loyalties lie. But anyway, he ended up going back to Kattegat and joining the Northmen and the pagans, so they're called by the Christians. So anyway, that's just like a brief rundown of season 2 for Vikings. I have to say this show is really good. It keeps getting better and better. Those 2 seasons are really good, and I'm really excited to see what season 3 has in store. So I would give season 2 2 thumbs up, and those are my thoughts on Vikings season 2.